Big day at the White House as President Trump gets ready to welcome Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Yesterday, the president announced he will hold a second summit in the coming weeks with Russian President Putin in Budapest, Hungary. He said they have had a productive phone call in the last 24 hours, but he's been very public, the president has, about his trust issues with Putin.
We get a lot of bull thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Putin really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy is on the North Lawn. Peter.
Harris, President Trump is putting out the word ahead of this meeting with Zelenskyy that even though his most recent battlefield assessment is that Ukraine can fight and win back all of the territory that Russia has taken and currently occupies over the course of this 3-year war, at the moment he is still going to play both sides when it comes to Tomahawk cruise missiles.
But did President Putin try to dissuade you from selling Tomahawk missiles?
Well, of course. What do you think he's going to say? Please sell Tomahawks? Is he going to say, please sell those Tomahawks? I really appreciate it. I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea. He really didn't like the idea. No, I said it that way. You have to be a little bit lighthearted sometimes, but no, he doesn't want Tomahawk is a vicious weapon.
Zelenskyy posted ahead of today's meeting, we have already prepared our part of the homework ahead of the meeting with President Trump, both the military component and the economic one. And after this meeting, the next step is going to be a meeting of top diplomats before a Trump-Putin-Zelenskyy summit.
I think it's helpful that Rubio and Lavrov are going to meet first next week. And certainly if Lavrov isn't putting something real on the table there, I don't think we should get the president involved in another meeting that leads to empty promises.
And President Trump was disappointed in Vladimir Putin after they met in Alaska at the end of the summer. So something must have changed in Putin's tone or in Putin's pitch to make the president want to accept this second meeting in Hungary. Harris?
All right, Peter, thank you. In focus now, Brett Velicovich, Fox News contributor and former U.S. Army intelligence and special operations soldier. Brett, you've spent some critical time on the ground during the early and middle parts of the war in Ukraine, so you've gotten to see that perspective. What do you think of a second summit now? First of all, let's start with Zelenskyy at the White House. Get your reaction on that.
Well, you know, Harris, what we're watching right now, I think, is classic President Trump diplomacy. He's about to welcome Zelenskyy to the White House just days after announcing another summit with Vladimir Putin in Budapest. And that's not coincidence, that's strategy. Trump's the only person on the planet who can get Putin on the phone one day and Zelenskyy at the White House the next. And that's called leverage. And that's how you move the world. That helps continue to reassert America's role as the world's negotiator, not the world's ATM machine with blank checks for endless wars. And so people can call it unconventional diplomacy, but I call it pressure point diplomacy. You don't end wars with hashtags and headlines. You end them with leverage, real outcomes, and leadership. And Putin the other day, he called the 2-hour conversation with the president productive, and he can do that all he wants. But the truth is simple. As long as Russian missiles and drones keep striking Ukrainian civilians, talk from him is just noise. He talks like a statesman, but then acts like a warlord. And I think Trump finally knows the difference. He finally understands how Putin thinks. He's seen how to use strength to force movement. And that's really what this recent announcement of this potential sending Tomahawk missiles has done. Putin may not respect many leaders, but he respects leverage. And Russia's recent public warning about the Tomahawk shows just how nervous they are about Trump's leadership. And that's exactly how you bring Russia to the table without even firing a shot. You let them know that the cost of continuing this war is only going to go up. That's the same playbook that brought peace in the Middle East: strength, clarity, respect. And if peace can happen in the Middle East, it can happen in Ukraine.
Look, that's a great example of the Tomahawks being used inside Syria when Bashar al-Assad had used chemical weapons on his own people. And look at where we are now. We're in much better diplomatic relations with Syria, trying to help them get sanctions relief under new leadership. It is fascinating what can happen if you send in Tomahawk missiles and you mean it. You don't just threaten it, you do it. Iran, another example of that. So, as you say, we've got some leverage, certainly leverage with our military. What else works as you get ready to potentially see a second summit with Putin and President Trump?
Well, it's got to be strength. I mean, diplomacy without strength is just wishful thinking. So I'm really hoping that this isn't just about being friendly with Putin when the president speaks with him. It's about being effective with him. You don't make peace with your friends, you make it with your enemies. And that's what Trump understands. You know, for years, people in Washington, they talked about process, but Trump doesn't care about process. He cares about outcomes. And the outcome we're looking for here is ending this war without draining America's arsenal or dragging us into an endless conflict. And nobody says that's going to be solved overnight. And so I think what success looks like coming out of this week is Putin realizes his free pass has expired. Zelenskyy leaves Washington knowing America's backing him smartly but not blindly. And then the rest of the world sees American president using strength as a tool for peace and not just as a threat.
Do you see us using those Tomahawk missiles? Do you? I mean, you've watched it. You've watched the incoming from Russia into Ukraine. What is really necessary, real quick?
I think what's necessary is upping the cost for Russia and sending Ukraine weapons that can potentially reach Moscow. That is scary to Putin. That's scary to his base. And so that's the only thing that's going to get him to really come to the peace table.
Brett Velicovich, great to have you in focus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.